Hi everyone, and welcome back to the channel. And there were so many burning questions that you guys had regarding management consulting. And knowing that it's the hot shot profile that everyone would want to make it to, whether it's after their graduation or post graduation, finally we have someone on board who is a credible authority in the domain and who can answer all your burning questions in one go. So welcome Gursimran Ahuja, who's an alum from IIM Ahmedabad batch of 2018, and she's worked with Bain for more than 3 years. Welcome, Gursimran. This is a channel where people are relying on credible information, and you've taken a step forward in helping them. And I'm so grateful to you for doing it, for taking out your time. I know that you're in US and I'm recording it in India. So you have been such a supportive figure. I would love if you could answer so many questions that people had regarding management consulting and haven't been addressed so far.
Oh, Shweta, thank you so much, first of all, for having me here. It's such a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to be talking about management consulting. But I hope I can plug whatever questions you want me to answer, and I hope I'm able to contribute, the context from whatever I've learned in my time in consulting so far. So yeah, I'm very excited for this. Let's do it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I would also like to thank Seco because I reached out to them. I said, could you share some mentors contact who can answer the questions? And they said, we have a 4.9 star rated mentor here. And they got in touch with you, I think, and that's how we connected.
Yeah.
So thank you to Team Seco as well for arranging this.
And I've had a great experience working with Seco. So yeah. For sure.
Would love to know more about that as well. But first of all, I would want to start off by checking with you. Like I mentioned, you worked with Bain for more than 3 years. So how has the journey been like?
Oh my gosh, I know. I've never sort of taken a step back and looked at, how far I've come. But if I do that, trust me, every day has been such a learning experience. And that's true of any consulting role. But I think at Bain specifically, just because you have people teaching you end to end, you don't just gain experience, across sectors. You don't just gain experience in the business domain, but you also gain experience personally, how to become a better professional, a better version of yourself at work, and a better leader at the end of the day. So I think across all the three dimensions, and of course, across hard skills, Bain has just been this incredible journey for me. I am excited to be continuing it again in the US as well. But I think if I look at it, it's just the 3 years that I've spent at Bain across, all the industries and all the sectors I've worked in, which have been a couple, and I think I'm happy to talk about that in detail as well. But it's been such an incredible, such an incredible roller coaster, I would say, because it teaches you things you don't realize, how much you're learning until you take a step back at moments like these and realize, oh my gosh, I have come a long way.
So you've been on two roller coasters then. One is IIM Ahmedabad and then Bain and Company.
Yeah. And now Kellogg, it's just,
absolutely.
It's
the third one.
We just keep adding to the list. That's how we make life fun.
Yeah. I just want to ask this question for all the folks out there who are freshers, who want to get into consulting right after graduation. And I definitely want to check with you if that's even possible. But for people who want to get into consulting after graduation or as freshers after MBA, it's okay. It's doable, right?
Yeah. Trust me, I get so many of these questions, while, from the Seco Select, membership platform. And I think that's one of the most asked questions, if at all, if there's one, is, whether you can do consulting out of undergrad. And the answer to that is straight yes. Yeah, you can pursue consulting anytime you want to, just because of the fact that the skill set is so, I would say, diverse, and the skill set is so flexible. You can pick it up wherever you want to and make whatever you want out of it. Which is why I think if you are in a place, of course, that can give you access to consulting, go for it, because it's just something that builds this problem solving skill set very, very fast. So that is number one. And the second part that I would like to say is that wherever you start consulting at, it's just be open to, like you said, be open to the problems that you're solving, because I think we come into consulting of course solving cases, which is the conventional way to get into it, but business problems are cases, but they're also so much more. Like a solution on a paper might not work in practice, like almost never works in practice, because like there's so much of the people element involved. And I think just having those scenarios play out in life is the best thing to, witness. And in your own like progression journey, like from coming from case interviews, you realize that there's so much else to the business world, which is something that we've never done before.
Yeah.
And I think that that is the most exciting part of the job for me. So no matter when it comes to you, whether you're like fresh out of undergrad or you have a few years of experience under your belt, I think it's just a skill set that will like add a lot of value to you as a professional as well, which is great.
That's so amazing. And I'm so surprised that, I'm probably talking to one of
Yeah.
the very few people in consulting who have said that they absolutely love it. I mean, so people have said that they enjoy their jobs. People have
Yeah.
said that they love the culture of the company and the perks that come with it. I've just never met a person who said that I absolutely love my job. So would
Yeah.
love to know more about it. Like, how did you find consulting as a fit for you? Because a lot of people on the channel, they fairly know about consulting. They're just not sure if that's what they would want to pursue further.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, I absolutely love the job. And I think at the end of the day, the decision to come into consulting was again a very, very long, like well thought out process into, whether this was actually going to be a good fit for me. And I did realize that, it had the elements of whatever I wanted to do in my life. Like I might not have like it sorted down to like the last detail on, I'm going to do management consulting in like XYZ industries. No, nobody does that. But I think I broadly wanted to know what I wanted to get out of my career. And it was I wanted to problem solve, which is basically like all the analytical skills that I've built over time, all the business acumen that I've built over time via business school or via work that I've done before has enthused me. It has excited me. Like just talking about business problems, reading about them in the papers, discussing them with friends on dinner tables is just something that, I liked doing. And I think, all right, I'm like, why not let's do this for a job as well. And I think the second part was just, working with clients and with teams. Like the people element of the job was so important for me, because I genuinely think that, you are a much better leader when you're working with people. And I think
Absolutely.
consulting is a perfect balance of the two. Like it can build your hard skills. It can make you this, incredible professional who's very good at problem solving, has seen a gamut of business problems, would not get lost if one is thrown at you. It's just a skill set that you develop so well while you're there and you're working across like business problems across contexts and across clients. It's just such breadth of exposure. And of course, like, and you do it with like this incredible team of people who are as smart as you are, and
Yes.
I would say smarter than you are, which is which is so great, because then you're learning on the job as well as you're learning from your team every step of the way. So I think, yeah, the people element and the problem solving like clubbed together, I think it was the perfect sweet spot for me. And I thought that when I joined, and every single day on the job, of course I've had tough days, like, and I'm sure we can talk about those as well, but I think net it's just been like all the check boxes have been like firmly ticked, and every day that decision of like going into consulting has been reaffirmed, and I'm so happy that it has happened. And which is why like I'm all set for the journey ahead as well, and I hope I can have like more fun times with consulting going forward as well.
Oh, absolutely. And that's this question that just came to my mind when I was listening to you and when you were saying that, you are in the shoes of a problem solver. Like problem solving at like a smaller level is one thing, but problem solving for a company with so much of a valuation or revenue or whatnot, like is that not intimidating, especially initially when you've just joined, and especially for a person with no work experience like yourself,
Yeah.
it must have been a little intimidating. So if you could just
Oh,
walk us through, like, let's say the first 30 days of your job and then 3 months or 9 months, like what happened exactly?
yeah. Oh my gosh, it was intimidating as hell. But I think I the first whatever couple of months, every time I went into like this steering committee meeting, which are effectively like board meetings where consulting firms give their recommendations, I used to feel like, all right, I don't. maybe I don't belong in this room. But, over time, as we sort of build this consulting skill set and, are actually the people who are delivering those recommendations,
Mm.
like just standing up there and feeling like, okay, I am adding value to, the companies that we are working with and the firms that we are a part of and have been engaging with. I think it's just it. So it starts being intimidating, but it also becomes very, very surreal at the same time, that the extent of problems that we are solving and the level at which we are solving them. So I think it's just, yeah, of course, I felt like I was out of place, like maybe the first month. But then, of course, like with this incredible team of people and the quality of work that we eventually end up doing, I think it's just something that it's, yeah, it's just surreal. It's just surreal, like being with people who've been in the business for so long, who know the problem maybe better than you do. But I think you'll still need the perspective that you bring to the table, which is fantastic.
So in a way, you're saying that if you keep like an open mind, you stay excited about learning every single day, and at the same
Yeah,
time realize that it's okay. The learning curve will slowly and steadily develop. That's fine, right?
yeah.
I would love to know more about what is it that you suggest your mentees at Seekho who want to make it to consulting, like what kind of profile they look for and all that. But before that, there is an important question that we should address, I guess, because a lot of people might be watching it and they'll be like, okay, I'm all up for getting into consulting, but what is it exactly? Like, what do you do as a consultant? So if you could
Ah,
just talk a little about what does a day in the life of a consultant look like? And what is
yeah,
it that you broadly do?
perfect. I think big picture, we solve problems. Like, and I'm sure you've heard that like so many
Yeah.
times by now. But I think, and trust me, like this is again another question that is the next follow up question where I say, okay, it's a lot of problem solving, and I'm like, what is problem solving?
Exactly.
So effectively, it's just businesses coming up to you and say that, okay, this part of our business is A, not working well, B, working well, but we want it to be something more. We want to add a little bit more value, take it to like XX, goal that what we've thought of. And we come in here and we tell them how to do it. And in some of the times when we stick around for implementation as well, we sort of support them in doing it as well. So, for example, if a company wants to take their sales to 5x in the next whatever year, or next 2 years, or next 3 years, we tell them how to do it. Like we tell them what levers can they use. They might know a couple, they might not know a couple, but just like getting all the people, like all the stakeholders in a room, getting them together, trying to answer that question from both the lenses, like from an outside in as well as an inside out lens, and telling them that, okay, these are things that you need to pursue to get to your sales target. These are the risks that you have, and this is what you should be doing next. And sometimes doing it with them. So I think just like, and trust me, it's like I would say doctors for businesses. Like it's just like telling them what they need to do to achieve the goals that they have set out for themselves. And on a day on day basis, if I have to break it, like, of course, every business problem, like I can say, okay, increase sales, which is like, all right, it's not an end all be all goal anyway. But I think it has a lot of elements to it, like increase sales, how, where, what channels, what products, what businesses, right? So automatically, like we have been talking about this problem for like what, 30 seconds now, and there are like n number of follow-up questions that
Questions,
have come
yes.
along with it, and I'm sure you have a couple as well. So the first part of like starting off with any case, like we call every project that we do with clients as cases. So the first step to any case is just like breaking that problem down into chunks that like, we can actually understand and work with. Like increased sales is so big that I, as an individual, or maybe at even a small team level, would not be able to like deal with it myself, which is why you have like this big problem broken down into chunks. And then each of our, like we call them work streams. So a consulting case is like a consulting case team is like a sum of its work streams. So you'll have like a team of whatever, 6, 7, 8 people, and you can have like 2 or 3 work streams, and we deal with like one part of the problem. So
Got
for
it.
example, if you're increasing sales, we can say, all right, increase sales in store or increase sales online. So they are like two parts of the problem now, and each team is dealing with a separate part. At some point, both of them will come together to give the overall answer. So on a day-on-day basis, we are literally doing this. Like we are meeting up with, first of all, our managers to talk through, how we break this problem down. Second, work within our teams to make sure that we have the problem sorted and we have a way to get to the answer. And like getting to the answer, whether we do it like via analysis, whether we do it via interviews with people, we actually do it with like online sales channels or delivery agents or whatever. Like it's just a lot of like asking questions, asking the right questions, doing a lot of numbers. I don't think we don't realize this enough. I don't think people think we do a lot of like analytical work in consulting, but trust me, it's very, very number focused. So if you don't like numbers, probably not, yeah, not the right choice for you. And then of course, like, bringing it back at the end of the day and seeing if we're answering like the overall question or not, like increase sales. Are we increasing sales at the end of the day with the work that we do? So it's just like a lot of analysis, especially early on. It's a lot of like project management, I would say, just bringing things together, because trust me, when you send the question out in the field, it's just too wide of a problem. You need to bring it back together at the end of the day and see whether you're staying true to whatever you wanted to answer in the first place or not, and making sure that every smart person, and it's literally everybody on your team, and they're like all of them are like in the top 10 percentiles wherever they've been at, making sure that they are contributing to their maximum potential, because there's so much potential to be realized, and they're working on the things that they're good at, and they're working on the things that they like. So just like balancing that out as well is, I think, the third element of whatever we do on a day-on-day basis in consulting.
I mean, the way you put it, I feel like I should have gone on the road, not taken. Like, I feel so excited even listening to
It's
it
never
and
too
doing it every single day. I mean,
late.
I'm sure it must have been like a fun
Oh
journey
yeah.
and fun experience every single day. And I do want to ask, like, people say that, every single day in consulting is unique, it's different. Like, how true is it?
Um, yeah, I would say uh, it is extremely, extremely unique. Like if I look back at whatever three plus years that I've spent in consulting now, I have not had 2 days that are similar to each other, like ever. Because trust me, and that's how life works. That's how businesses work, right? You have this like incredible like mix of like problems that you go through when you're growing as a business. That your days can't look like your life doesn't look like whatever the life of a business like looks similar across days. So it's just, yeah, it's not similar. It's just the fact that these incredible like problems are thrown at you every step of the way is what makes the job a lot more fun for the client, as and in by extension us as well. And if you look back, like the skills that you develop on each of these days are also not the same, right? Which is
Mhm.
why if you look at like the Seco platform, you have like these incredible diversity of skill sets that you need to develop when you're working as a management consultant or thinking of working as a management consultant, that you need to look into all of these different aspects to make sure that you're checking the boxes off of each one of them. And that's the best part, that you get to experience problems from so many different perspectives, and you get to develop skill sets that are so diverse that it's never boring. And that's why after 3+ years you are excited to get more of it. I've
Yeah,
had a
and
few as
I
well.
think that's a part of the reason why you joined Seco as a
Yeah,
mentor. Like, I
yeah.
can't even fathom how you get so much time in the day. I mean, how do you manage both? I am actually curious to know how this journey started for you. I mean, despite working so hard as a senior consultant in Bain and Company, how did you take out time to be a part of Seco?
uh, I think uh, and I think we were talking about this before we started as well. It's just about paying it forward, like,
Yes.
and as a student, the journey that you've had from like coming from a place of like no context about what your life is going to look like, to actually like some of those parts making sense, to using that knowledge you gain to actually make decisions about your professional journey. It's a process, right? And you like talk to people, you talk to your seniors at college, you interact with people who've already been in the roles, and you do that yourself. And trust me, when these platforms like yours or Seco, and I come across them, I am always game for like, getting on board and like talking as much and helping people as much as I can, because that's how I am learning as well. Every single time we do something new, it always helps to, get in the shoes of someone who's already been there. But I think it helps even more if you have that information ready with you. Like, for example, there are questions about consulting that I would have. Let's say I'm someone who wants to start consulting. There are questions that I would have, and there are questions that I do not know I should have, which need to be answered. Like, of course, I can get the answers to the questions that I already want to know about by talking to people around me. But what about the things that I have not even thought of and have not even fathomed? Like, where those answers going to come from? So it's great that platforms like yours are going deeper into careers, because I do think there is a lot of scope for, like, you know, taking these decisions and taking these decisions with a lot of perspective very early on. Like,
Yes.
we can save so many years of our life by, you know, learning from the experiences of others and seeing that, oh, all right, this career maybe not for me. This career looks like something I could do. And I think we need to have more of those conversations very early on. And I'm a very, very strong proponent of that, and which is why when this opportunity came, and I think I was talking with Arihant as well as with, the team at Seiko for a very long time, I was like, I'm all in, like all hands on deck whenever you want me to, which was fantastic, because trust me, like, of course, it is an investment in time as well, but we have time. We just don't want to acknowledge that we do. It's just carving out time for things that you're passionate about is one of the things that I am passionate about. So I think it's just like, but whatever is important needs to get done. And I think I am passionate about, and being involved in forums like these that are, making context a lot more clearer for students who are going to be in the professional journeys and are going to navigate their professional journeys in the next couple of years. And I hope we are here for them in whichever way they want us to. And it's incredible that you're doing it as well. And it's incredible what Sequo is doing as well to make
Thank
sure
you.
the
Like,
journey is a little bit easier.
seriously, that means a lot. And I just want to tell you that on behalf of everyone who's watching this, I'm super grateful to you that you're doing this, not only here, but also at Seco, because essentially it's rare and it's super, super important to pay back to the community and to so many people who don't have the right contacts. I feel it's so important. And moving on to the question that I had just asked, like, I think there's so many questions coming up. I am more curious than the audience, but would just love to know, how can someone prepare for the consulting field? And I think a lot of it you must be teaching at
Yeah.
SECO as well. What exactly does a person, whether an undergrad student or a postgrad student, what do they need to do to make it to consulting?
First of all, I think there are two parts to it. One is, if you're still in the gray zone about, whether you want to do consulting or not, then I would suggest like looking at some of the videos of people who've actually done consulting and see if that career sort of makes sense. Like, if that's something that you would have to do day in and day out, whether that would interest you or not. And if the answer to that is yes, then we have another set of, like, context, like stuff that you could actually, explore, which is how to get into consulting. And I think predominantly the way to do that is making sure that your profile is in line. And trust me, there's no one right answer to this. Just like doing your stuff well and making sure that you have been a good student so far and you've picked up a couple of things that you really are passionate about. And B, just acing your case interview, which is the most important like checkpoint when it comes to like getting into consulting. And I was very glad when like Seco sent me this first draft of, they were building like this consulting school within the Seco ambit. And I think the first thing that we were talking about is like what questions we want answered. And it was so great that, we were covering all the three aspects. We were covering aspects related to what is a career in consulting actually like. We were covering things related to, all right, how do you build your profile for consulting? Like, if you want to get your resume in. And third, if you really want to prepare for a case interview. So I'm glad that we have resources for all the three, because I literally used like, support from my seniors on all the three dimensions when it came to preparing for management consulting. So yes, you do need to take the plunge and decide, first of all, whether management consulting is for you. You need to make sure that your CV, resume get in to whatever firm seems like a good fit for your personal journey. And then, of course, you need to prepare for your case interviews. Can't stress how important those are. It's just, I think consulting case interviews are like a 101 on what consulting is actually going to be like. So
Yes.
it's very important that you you are good at those, and B, you like them as well. Like if you don't like solving cases, probably not going to like consulting as well. So I
Yeah.
think that's a very, very important part of, how what being a consultant is like.
That's actually a very good insight because let's say someone is not sure if they would want to make it to consulting, they can probably try their hands on solving some cases and see if that's a fit, right?
Yes, yes. I
That's
think
amazing.
consulting case interviews are like consulting compacted into
Yeah.
like a very small 20-minute thing that will give you a rundown on whatever pieces you're going to use in your actual consulting journey. So yeah, do a case interview, see if you like it, and if you're like hell no, then probably it's a no for consulting as well.
I would definitely want to like delve further into the profile bit. Like, let's
Yeah,
put ourselves in the shoes of recruiters. Since you've been in the company in and out, you know what the recruiters are actually looking for. So, when it comes
yeah.
to the profile from a recruiter's lens, what is it that they're looking for?
Trust me, there is no one right profile. Like unlike some of the other careers that we talk about, and I think I have also seen some of Mexico is a way for me to learn about other careers as well, which is fantastic. So if we look at some other careers, and I think we have like a profile in mind. Uh, we do have like this persona that companies are looking for. In consulting, it's very gray. Like you can get into consulting from whichever background. I have seen people from liberal arts, I've seen people from commerce, engineers, of course, even doctors
Yes.
make it into consulting. So that's how wide it is. Like you can enter into consulting whichever way you want to and be good at it. But that being said, I would also say that there are a couple of things that make you stand out when it comes to, and I think I did talk about it in the thing that I did with Seco as well, is you need to show excellence. Like you need to show that you have done things and you have been good at them.
Mhm.
So and it does not just need to be academic. So of course, like you can come from whichever background. You can come from like a liberal arts, medical, commerce, non-medical, engineering, take a gap year, have worked in sales, whatever background you can pick, but then you need to show that you have been in the top whatever percentile of it, like you have been good at it. And I
Yes.
think that is what consulting looks for. And it does not, it could also be positions of responsibility. You might have been a general secretary within your institute. You
Mm.
might have been
Correct.
great at, a sport. You might have been a national level player of tennis. You might have picked up, a number of debating skill sets along the way. So it's just things that you have done, but you've done well. And I think well is what consulting firms are looking for, because it's just a sign of, you being like adaptable, like you've done a couple of things, you have been flexible in life to, uh, take things in your stride, but you've also done them incredibly well, which is the second thing that we're looking for. So that also answers the question that, if a business problem is thrown at you tomorrow, even if you're not familiar with it, can you take it in your stride and do well at it?
Mm.
Because your resume clearly says that you have done that in your life. You've picked up so many different things and you have like made them your own. And that goes to show that you will do that when you're in the consulting firm as well. So I think that is what consulting firms essentially look for. It's just excellence across whatever you've pursued in life. You need to be good at what you do. It could be being a good student, a good leader, a good sports person, a good orator, or whatever extracurricular skill set you want to pick up. But just be good at things. Like just follow them up with time, investment, and of course, like results will follow.
I really like that you mentioned that, you might have had a gap year, because I see people coming up with all sorts of reasons why they cannot make it to consulting. For example, we've had gap years, or we are from non IIT, non NIT, or a tier 2, tier 3 college. Sometimes I feel like telling them that, these things probably don't matter as much. I've seen so many IITians or NITians or Delhi University students not getting shortlists at these schools despite having that brand name, because sometimes it's way more important to excel in what you have, rather than to make the most of the opportunities that you got. And
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if you had plenty of them and you did not do anything with them.